My ex-girlfriend was draining. Submitted to r/nosleep by the solemn sage. I first met my ex while out with a couple of buddies at a bar in North Carolina. A nice place, good music, and affordable liquor. I was determined to get hammered that night after a particularly rough week. On the bright side, my friend Harold from college was in town visiting. He moved away from the group for a great position in the same city as his girlfriend. I was nursing an annoying cut in my mouth with copious amounts of gin when fat-bottomed girls kicked through the speakers. Every drunk girl in the bar swayed and stumbled onto the dance floor. But every man's attention, taken or not, was on the strawberry blonde, her body moving in an intoxicating rhythm. Every man was waiting for his chance to peacock for her attention. A generally shy guy, I was already sweating, going over how I would approach her and what I would say, going over every possible response. "Holy shit, dude," Harold exclaimed. "I didn't come all the way here, just to see you soak through your shirt. Calm down and go talk to her." I know, but should I just go over there? Maybe dance over? Always seems so weird. I scratched the back of my neck. "I don't think you need to worry about that, bud," my other friend said, gesturing over to my source of anxiety. She approached me and smiled softly. "I do much better with a partner." I grabbed her hand and she led me back to the dance floor. If looks could kill, every dude in that place would have gladly seen me gutted. We only danced for a moment before a slow 80s rock song came on. She threw her hands behind my neck and rested her head on my shoulder. Sorry. You know I was very nervous to talk to you." She chuckled softly. "It's fine. I don't mind. Besides, there's just something about you. Like, your scent." First time I'd ever gotten that compliment. Maybe all those studies were right, I thought, as I tried to suppress my smile to maintain a semblance of cool. "My name is Sarah. Would you like to buy me a drink?" Chuck," I said as I looked toward my friends at the bar, smiling and thrusting their thumbs dramatically into the air. And absolutely. We spent the entire night talking. We ended the night on a good note. I went in for a kiss and she pulled me in, swirling her tongue along the roof of my mouth. What followed was a whirlwind romance. We were together every single day, and after an impassioned speech about the shortness of life, we moved into a condo together 2 months later. She had never stayed overnight, so I was excited for our first night together in our new place, and apparently, so was she. She pressed herself behind me, breathed deep, and exhaled, intoxicating, as we drifted off to sleep. The weeks flew by, and in that time, you learn a lot about your partner's quirks when you're around them all the time. I had gotten us tickets to an aquarium as a surprise. I thought we could go through all the exhibits and have lunch in the park. When I presented this idea to Sarah, her normally gentle face snarled in revulsion. Why the fuck would I waste my time looking at some fish all day? I don't know. I thought it would be a cool outing. I didn't even know people disliked aquariums. They're widely liked. Sarah's disposition started to soften. "I just don't like fish, okay? They're idiotic wastes of space who only eat and piss in pond water. The only place they belong is on a plate. In fact, I know what we're having for dinner tonight." She smirked as she grabbed the keys and sauntered off. I thought about her response while she was gone. I guess I didn't know too much about her. Maybe something traumatic happened to her? Maybe she fell into a river or got slapped in the face as a kid by a guppy. I was chuckling at my joke when she walked back into the house with a handful of groceries. I laughed and saluted her. "That looks like quite the catch, Captain. What we be feasting on tonight?" She laughed and returned a stern salute at East Stud. "I got some catfish, bluegill, and a special surprise." She waved one of the bags in front of me before she hurried to the kitchen. I was astonished when she pulled 4 whole fish from the bags and laid them across the cutting board. She threw a bag into the fridge and began filleting the fish with glee. Something about it made me uncomfortable. She had a look of deep satisfaction, one you don't want to see in someone with a knife in their hand. "Honey, wow, you're really going to town on that thing. I didn't know you knew how to prepare fish like this. Wouldn't it have been easier to just buy the fillets though? The butcher is in the store." She sliced off a piece of bluegill and held it in front of her and smirked. "I guess some things I prefer to do myself." She brought the plates to our modest table and went back to the kitchen and returned with a container of caviar and 2 small spoons. "Caviar? Jesus. You really went all out, didn't you?" I took a small bite and reluctantly swallowed. "Don't think I'm a fan though, sorry." "That's fine," she said, gently scooping the caviar and bringing it to her mouth. She savored the taste. It's best cold. Sweet." As a soft smile spread across her face. As time went on, I fell more in love with Sarah. I have no idea what it was about her. I looked up from my laptop on the couch as she paced our living room on the phone, rolling her eyes, and responded to the other person with the assertiveness of someone who didn't take no for an answer. I went back to work and scratched at the large bites that swelled across my neck and upper back. Damn bugs, I thought. If Sarah wasn't so sensitive to fragrances, I would have nuked this whole condo. The last time I used bug repellent, Sarah could barely breathe. Sorry, I just can't be around that smell. You gotta shower and stay away from me until you do. I keep it by the door now for days. I go out and shower before she notices. Still didn't know where the damn things are coming from. I haven't seen so much as a fly in here. I'm glad you finally understand, and it won't be visible past our fence so we wouldn't be breaking any bylaws. Okay, thank you. She hung up triumphantly and grinned at me. We get our above ground pool. I knew she would eventually see things my way. She collapsed next to me and rested her head on my shoulder before perking back up. Oh babe, no. These are starting to look bad. She gently rubbed her hand across my back. Let me go get the calamine lotion and an antihistamine. Thanks. I think some of them are starting to go down. Didn't think I'd be this reactive to whatever is attacking me. I shouted at her in the other room. And you don't feel anything at all while they're biting? She shouted back. No, not even a little. So at least it's not spiders or something. She came back with cotton balls and calamine, then applied my salvation around my back. Oh no. Those sneaky bastards. She chuckled and patted a cool cotton ball against the nape of my neck. The bug bites never went away completely, but they did slow down quite a bit. However, a month had gone by, and I felt increasingly more sluggish with each passing day. The mornings were a chore, and it felt like I was pulling myself out of quicksand just to get out of bed. I headed downstairs. Sarah had already made breakfast, and the Keurig rumblings meant coffee was well on the way. I sat down and rubbed my temple, still coming to terms with existence and that life was happening. Fortunately, both our jobs are remote, so I didn't have to deal with commuter stress and water cooler small talk. You poor thing, you still haven't slept well? Sarah brought over the cup of coffee and sat next to me. Yay, I guess so. I don't remember much tossing and turning, do you? Maybe a bit. You do mutter in your sleep a bit. You were having a bit of a rougher time than usual last night though. It's why I wanted to get up early enough to make breakfast. Look. I added more spinach to your eggs and there's more bacon if you need. She broke off a piece from my plate. We don't need you going anemic too. I rolled my eyes. Oh, thank you, honey. What would I ever do without you? I reached out for her thigh before she slapped my hand and pulled her dress further past her knee. Sorry, I just haven't shaved yet. She hopped up. But I'm going to do that now, get to work. She looked longingly out the window into our backyard. Definitely gonna get in the pool later. Okay. I brought the coffee to my lips and looked up at her. Is there sugar in here? Enough to make a doctor raise an eyebrow. She said, heading to the bathroom. Aren't you hungry? Already ate earlier. Actually, a bit bloated. Sarah was obsessed with that pool. The thing barely fit in what little backyard we had. She was out there for hours on end, well into the evening. This had gone on for days and she hadn't been to work at all this week. The sun had set when I finally decided to see if something was wrong and headed out to our backyard. Her eyes were glazed over and distant, fingers tapping rhythmically at the water. Honey, I know everyone needs a bit of relaxation, but you're going to turn into a California raisin if you stay in there like this. And this water, when is the last time we had this thing cleaned? It looks scummy. She opened her eyes wide and looked over at me. Oh, I hadn't noticed. The water seems perfect to me. Besides, what's a little scum ever hurt anyone? Sarah, look, it's getting dark already, won't you just come inside? Is something wrong? Something I did? Come inside and we can talk about it. I pleaded. Sarah stood up and walked over to me, the green film of the pool clung and dripped from her body as she moved. The same sadistic grin she wore when filleting fish flashed across her face before it receded into her normal soft grin. Okay, she said as she played with my shirt collar. I'll tell you what, you go inside, I'll shower, and you wait for me. She touched my nose with her finger, and I turned and ran back into the house. I heard her chuckling as I closed the sliding glass door. The smell she left behind was rancid. I couldn't get to a sink fast enough. I went straight to bed. I didn't care what she did, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to leave. I would put some of my things in a suitcase tomorrow and tell her I need a break. I sighed and scratched the back of my neck. I heard Sarah come inside. Her wet feet slapped against the kitchen tile before it was smothered by the carpet. I tried to doze off when I heard the shower, but was too anxious. This behavior was strange, but I couldn't figure out why I was so on guard. I didn't think she would seriously hurt me. At least, I think. Oh, nodding off early, She pulled in close. I tried to keep my voice even and faked fatigue. Yay, maybe if I get to sleep earlier, I won't be as lethargic. Maybe even feel rested. Well, okay. I think a long night's sleep will do you good. We could be pretty busy soon. Yeah, I guess so, I muttered as I turned on my side, not paying attention to what she had said. I woke up in the middle of the night with a stiff neck and sore upper back. I probably slept on this pillow wrong again, I thought as my vision began to focus. I blinked a few times, and our vanity mirror came into view and the moon shone brightly through the window beside it. I began to stir but froze at my reflection. My mind screamed at a pitch I dare not let burst from my throat, and tears fell from my eyes as I comprehended my position. Sarah loomed over me, one hand placed gingerly on my hip as the other supported her. Her arms were covered in hundreds of short black hairs. Her head was tilted slightly, her eyes rolled back in complete ecstasy as her mouth hung open. Her tongue was pressed to the roof of her mouth, unattached to her lower jaw, which was now split a few inches apart. This allowed a fleshy tube-like appendage to protrude through the opening and down into the base of my neck. I heard and felt a soft gulp, gulp as the appendage pulsed before Sarah groaned. I felt a sudden pull as she snaked the thing back into her mouth and closed her jaw. She blinked and her eyes rolled forward to meet mine in the mirror. They grew big, and she froze as we stared at each other for half a second before I jumped out of bed, stumbling toward the drawer where I kept the hammer. "Now, Chuck," she said softly. "Wah, no. No," I yelled. My legs were weak until my fight or flight kicked in. I snatched my jeans from the floor and flew downstairs. I heard movement when I reached the bottom, but didn't see anyone coming down after me. I prayed to anyone that would listen that she wouldn't bother and snatched the car keys off the kitchen table, then hurried toward the door where my wallet and shoes were nearby. "Honey, wait, let's talk. Is this really so bad?" I swung around at her now raspy voice but didn't see her anywhere. I thought she was hiding until I felt something softly brush the top of my neck. I clenched my jaw and snapped my head up. There was Sarah, still covered in those hairs, clinging to the fucking ceiling. Her eyes were intense, she clicked her jaw, and whenever it opened that flesh straw would taste the air. Relationships are give and take, right? I only ever took a little. Just a little. I knew the moment I saw you sweating profusely at that bar that you might be the one, but when I smelled you. In my periphery, I saw the old can of bug spray I kept by the door. I snatched it and let it loose in her direction. Sarah gagged and fell to the floor, vomiting the reddish-brown remnants of her last meal. She looked up at me spitefully before she began to heave again. I sprinted toward the car and peeled off down the street. My phone rang nonstop. I drove for hours until I needed gas. I cut off any location apps, Bluetooth, and Wi-Fi on my phone, then hopped back on the road. That was almost 3 weeks ago. I'm staying with Harold a state away, and of course, he doesn't really believe me, and I don't blame him. He just thinks I was being abused or something. Told me to take my time and that he'd get the others to get my things when I'm ready. But she can keep it all. Burn it in a fire, I don't care, I can't go back. Not now. Sarah messaged me this morning. I forgot to block her on Facebook. I barely use the thing anymore. It was a video of our pool, more sickeningly green than before, but now there were clusters of pods that bobbed just above the water. I thought some disgusting fungus had begun to colonize the thing. The camera closed in on one of the pods and I saw it move and writhe as it bobbed in the afternoon sun. The camera turned to face Sarah, that beautiful sly smile that I fell in love with painted on her face. "Come home, Chuck. You don't want me to be a single mom, do you?"